What's up, Mitchell?
How's it going?
This is the Vitality Show, episode 3. Pretty excited to have you on. You're a
Thanks
beast.
for having me.
Yeah, you've been coming here a little bit.
Yep.
But we were just talking off air. You asked a question. What was your question?
What is the best material to sleep on?
Oh, sleep on. You asked if it was cotton.
Yeah.
So there's like this study that was done a while ago. I don't know that it's been replicated, but essentially the lady checked like the frequency of different fabrics.
Yeah.
And I forget how she measured it, maybe in millihertz or I don't think it was millivolts. But anyway, so she was just checking their frequency and see what a healthy cell has versus what a sick cell would, and then extrapolating that onto different fabrics. So what would happen if you were to wear polyester, for example? It basically the frequency is basically 0, so it like doesn't help you at all.
So you want a higher frequency?
So yeah, you want either side of it. So on one side, and I'll get there. So on one side you have wool. So like wool is like a great fabric. It's a natural material that you would use. That's like 5,000 or minus 5,000, something like that. And then linen is on the other side, and it's plus 5,000 or whatever. They're poles of that. And in the Bible they say don't mix wool and linen, because it's like not good for you. Essentially, we have to find the verse, but it's pretty interesting there. So she measured those two, and like I said, it's not repeatable, but this is just like anecdotal. And then for me, like I tested out like different things.
Yeah.
Like wool is a little scratchy for me, and then merino wool is just like super expensive. So, and it's hot, and I don't like being hot.
Yeah.
But linen is what I sleep on. So linen is the best that I've found. Organic cotton allegedly has like a frequency of like 100, which is like where you like that's what your cells should be, and then regular cotton is like 70, and then everything else is below that. Even silk is below that. Like people think silk, like a silk pillowcase, is really good, but yeah, this is all just I can't even remember the name of the study. I need a Jamie, like on Joe Rogan's podcast, like, hey Jamie, can you look this up?
Yeah.
And then reading about it. Yeah, on the TV. That's what we need. We'll get Will on that for next time.
What do you mean about the matching this frequency of your cell?
So like so this goes into millivolts. So you can actually measure the electrical potential of each one of your cells.
Okay.
And they found that like if you get below, I want to say minus 100 millivolts, then your cell is underperforming.
Oh.
Dr. Jack Cruz like posted it. He got it from oh man, I don't remember. I'm having Dr. Alexis Cowan. She's like really, she's a super genius. She's more fun to talk to than I am about it.
Okay.
But she has worked like I followed Jack Cruz for I don't know since 2015, and she just started following him. But she's like dove into all of the research and is like all about it and wants to start her own lab. So Dr. Alexis is going to come on, I think, in a week or two. But so anyway, so like she'll be able to tell me better about like the cellular potential. But essentially, if like a sick cell like has less electrical potential, and like a cancerous cell has even less. So that's why people say grounding is so important, because it'll get your electrical potential back to that minus 100 or minus 150. And then if you have like other things that could like zap your cells. There's a book called Zapped, and then there's a few other like resources out there that I remember hearing about. But it talks about like the impact that EMFs have on you, non-native ones, because grounding is technically an electromagnetic frequency, but it comes from the earth rather than coming from a power line or your cell phone or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's just a little bit different. Like natural EMFs are good. Non-native could potentially be harmful, because you'll see like women who carry like they'll put their phone in their bra, and then they'll get cell phone shaped tumors, and men will carry it in like their pocket and then get testicular cancer, and then men will carry it in like their back pocket and get like colon cancer too.
Really?
And it's not like, what is it? Correlation and causation,
Yeah.
So, but the one that like looks like a cell phone is like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That it could potentially be that.
Yeah.
I know that there's people, we're kind of off on a crazy tangent, but anyway, there's people who are looking into like, what are the effects of all of these things?
Yeah.
And the problem is everything is so muddied, and we're so exposed to so many variables that like isolating one variable, like is kind of hard to do.
Yeah.
And they've been spending 20 years trying to figure it out with glyphosate with one specific form of cancer. So like all of these farmers that were using it, like they only use this one product.
Yeah.
And they were able to win a couple cases. And the floodgates are actually starting to open up with that, but we don't have to get into that part.
Well, no, I mean, I like getting into kind of what we were talking about before this, like getting in. Maybe you can tell by the questions that I've been asking this like winter, something kind of started changing where I've been asking you more about like holistic living, grounding, all that stuff. And it's kind of funny now, like that was when I started coming to Vitality and stuff like that. Like after Christmas, kind of. Just how a controlled environment is almost like you just said, it's impossible. Almost like there's way, way, way too many, what would you say, independent variables that can fluctuate every single dependent variable. And it's almost like I started thinking about cancer and like the how prevalent it has gotten. I don't know if you know more about that than, maybe say 200 years ago, 1,000 years ago, and the prevalency of it, but how much more strong and prevalent it's gotten with all the maybe more stronger EMFs, all that stuff.
Just the advancements in what humans have come up with. I think it's probably, it's kind of, like you said, it's multifactorial. So like 1,000 years ago, we were deeply connected with nature. We were completely dependent on it. Now, let's say you have a baby and a mom who like don't survive childbirth because they don't have, the emergency C-section or the emergency things that need to be done. Now, it doesn't always happen, but it was higher incidence back then, especially when you're living in poverty and you don't have like simple things like food, shelter, and water. Like if you don't have those, like an infant's going to really struggle. Like I have a 3-month-old right now and she's just like super dependent on us all the time. And which anybody who's a parent can tell you that's how it is. We just got baby chicks too. So like if the light is not like the right distance from them, they're just like, help, 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 help. But it's just like so fragile. Like new life is so fragile that back then, because it was so fragile, we didn't have like these safeguards that we have now. People just like don't survive as well. So that's one of the pieces. And then it's like, well, if you get, let's say, you get bitten by a rattlesnake, well, it's like there's only a couple things that you can do and then you're gone. Or if you fall and break your ankle and you can't literally go hunt for your food, like you're dependent on the tribe, you're just holding the tribe back. So like little things like that. So like from like if you look at mortality, like we are living longer, but morbidity, I think is what it's called. Like if you get past like 10 years old, the lifespan hasn't really changed that much. So like we have advanced in some ways, but like it's all of that data is kind of muddied. So like all this stuff is just like really muddy. And then like incidents of cancer, like how would you even detect cancer? So that's what people are saying now. It's like, well, we have higher rates of cancer and these other diseases because we're better at detecting it, and, obviously I'm not an expert on it, but I look into it, I'm just trying to be the healthiest I can be. But like these crazy cancers that are happening now are wild, it's just like, and I don't know where it's coming from, but I know that people are trying to figure it out and they want to figure it out. So, but there are a lot more things that we're exposed to from like a toxin standpoint. Like we're getting exposed to so many different things that are synthetic that we have no idea what it's like in our body. Like it used to be lead and then it was asbestos and then or vice versa. And then now for us, it's like microplastics. Like everyone has like a ton of microplastics in their cells and like getting rid of those is not exactly easy to do.
But even that, I mean, those three things you just named, would that be, could you say that's pretty isolated in the last, since the Industrial Revolution?
Yeah, I mean, but then also you got to think of like you remember when they were pumping out coal and they had like all of the acid rain. So like acid rain used to be a huge deal in upstate New York because all of the lakes and all the fish were dying because it was like we were getting so much pollution from Detroit and Chicago and Buffalo that, and Cleveland, all of the lakes west or east of there were just getting crushed because of all the pollutants in there, reduced the oxygen, and then the fish couldn't survive. So there's so many, it's like I said, there's so many things, not to mention like spraying DDT as herbicide and pesticide. Monoculture played a huge role in that. And then repurposing all of these like chemicals from oil so that they could do something. And like people are like, oh yeah, well, we can show that there's an increase in growth if we use, NPK, which is just like additives that they would put to the soil. It's like, well, why wouldn't you just like plant more than one crop? And it's because it's inconvenient. And the government's like, well, we need to feed, at the time, however, 200 million people. Now it's 380 million people. Like we have to feed all these people. Yeah. How are we going to do it? And that's what's like really interesting too, is like, how are we going to do it? Yeah. Like, how are we going to get good food that's grown in your time zone to you, and like, just like there's so many different things that you have to like factor in. Yeah. And how can you, like, it's such a complex system. And that's one thing I was like really interested in to see with like AI, like could AI sift through all of this stuff, through all the muddiness, and like come up with like, hey, these are the 10 things that we need to change as a species to figure this out for you guys to survive. Huh. That would be an interesting, because it's just computing power at that point. Like we have really intelligent people on this planet that can figure these problems out. Yeah. There's not many of them. I'm not one of them, but there's just like there's like some potential there, which I think would be kind of cool. So, the hard part is now is like you get all these, like you're saying with cancer, you get incidents of cancer, and it hits you close to home. It just hits you with, it's like yesterday was a 1-year anniversary of my dad passing away. Oh man, and sorry. It was like, what happened? Like how did it happen so quickly? Oh. And he didn't live a perfect lifestyle. And I think a part of that for me is why I've kind of swung the other way, was because, I just like noticed what he was doing, whether it was chewing tobacco or, drinking on the weekends or, like not wearing, like breathing in like whatever construction materials, he's always coming back with something on him. Yeah. And how long until your body like just like can't keep up with that anymore. Yeah. Now, was that the cause? I don't know. We don't really know what caused it, but it happened so fast that it was like there was almost nothing that we could really do. So that was like hard to go through and see it up close, see what it was like to deal with those different types of cancer. So like my mom had thyroid cancer back in, I forget when it was, 2014 maybe. And my mother-in-law had breast cancer. So it was like the same time they were in the hospital getting surgery on the same day for two different types. Like, well, what's causing these things to pop up? Yeah. And a lot of times they'll just say it's early screening, which maybe, I don't know. Like it's hard. Like I don't want to say definitively one way or another because there's no way of really knowing all of that. But it's just happening a lot more. Yeah. Everybody knows somebody that's been dealing with cancer. Like everybody does. Yeah. And I just think if you can try to steer towards like healthier living, with some of the choices that we make. And that's what I always called it, my priority filter. So like, I would always be like, okay, is this going to help me achieve my goals? Is this not going to help me achieve my goals? Or is it neutral? Like where does this decision fall? It's going to help me. Okay, I'm doing it. It's not going to help me. Not going to do it. And eventually I started like getting better at it. Like when I was in college, I didn't care. Like I was eating, sugar cookies and potato chips and Diet Mountain Dew. And that's all I would eat pretty much. And so, go to, hopefully I don't have a sponsorship opportunity with Subway, but I'd eat Subway all the time. You ever seen Tom Brady's Subway commercial? Maybe. It's so funny because he doesn't eat bread. Really? So, yeah. So he did a Subway commercial and it was something to the effect of that. Basically like, I don't eat this. But he still was on a commercial, which I thought was kind of funny. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was Tom Brady that did that. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was like Jimmy John's or something. I don't know. Anyway, but it was like something like that. I'm like, man, what am I doing? I got hurt, and then I got hurt again, and then I had heart surgery, and I'm like,
you had heart surgery?
Yeah, you know that?
I knew about your shoulder, and then
So in 2013, end of 2013, I fractured my Liz Frank in my left foot. So essentially, what it is one ligament that holds like you have your 4 toes and then your big toe. Your 4 toes are held together by like 3 bands. And then you only have 1 band that holds on your big toe to the rest of your foot. Mm. And that 1 band is called a Liz Frank ligament and popped off. And they thought it was just a broken foot. And they're like, oh, it seems all right. You know, six weeks in a boot, you'll be okay. 6 weeks in a boot, come and go. Not okay. Like, can't do anything still. Then I finally, this is my qualm with the medical community is like, you know, they didn't think to check, you know, if it was something more than that.
Especially before 6 weeks
of
your life passed away.
Yeah. And in the grand scheme of things, 6 weeks isn't that much. But like I would have liked to know sooner because I still wanted to wrestle.
Yeah.
So then I got imaging done. Like, oh, actually, you know, this isn't going to heal on its own. You got to get it surgically repaired. So I have my Liz Frank surgically repaired. So I go in to get it done. And they put a, you know, heart rate monitor, not a heart rate monitor, but like an EKG on me, so that when I'm under with anesthesia and they're doing the surgery, they can like monitor everything. And they found that I have what's called Wolff-Parkinson's White. So essentially what it is an accessory pathway, an electrical pathway, from the top of my heart to the bottom of my heart. And what happens is you have like a natural pacemaker between the top and the bottom because the top pumps 3 times faster than the bottom. And you only get 1 electrical signal down to 1 of 3 down to the bottom to like move the blood or however it works. And with this accessory pathway, what could happen is those 3 electrical impulses that aren't stopped by the pacemaker could cause me to go into like a loop and then get into cardiac arrest. So they said I have a 1% chance at any moment of going into cardiac arrest. I was like, well, that's not good.
Especially being a combat athlete.
Yeah. So, and I remember just crazy stuff. I remember getting on the treadmill and like doing hill sprints. So we had, this is hilarious. We had harnesses that we would wear and we'd have a string up to the ceiling, like a carabiner string, like what you would do if you were climbing like a rock wall. And we would be running as fast as we could on a full incline treadmill. And their coach would be there holding your back to like make sure you don't fall. And you're like running and you're like pushing yourself as hard as you can. And like people would fall and then they'd have someone pull you up so you wouldn't like hit your face on the treadmill.
Oh, wow.
And they'd like keep you up. And I remember doing that. And my heart rate was at like over 220, which is like, I didn't know anything about heart rate and I didn't know anything. But that's just what the monitor said. And so, but I like couldn't breathe. I like had to go lay down and my head was spinning and I was just like, this is no good. Clearly no good. And, but I remember that, but I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, man, I'm working hard. Like, this is great. And, that was when I was in college and I guess I didn't get screened for WPW, but, so then I go to the doctor and they're like, hey, we need to, you know, you need to get a heart ablation to do this. This was in 2014 now. So it was end of 2013, foot, hurt, needed surgery 2014. Then I needed heart surgery. So I went to the Cleveland Clinic and got that done in between my first and second foot surgery. So I had to get metal plates and 5 screws put in so that the Liz Frank would heal. And then I had to go in like a month later and they put me under, they said it would be 2 hours, ended up being 6 hours because they had to like zap my heart to like try to get rid of the accessory pathway. So they had like a grid that you could see. I remember waking up in the middle of this thing.
What? Purposely? Like the anesthesia
wore off, but I remember like coming to a little bit and be like, guys, my shoulders hurt so bad. Can somebody rub my shoulders? Because I was like on a flat table. So they went in through my groin. So they just followed that.
Oh, they didn't open it.
No, I didn't. No, my chest is good. Like they didn't crack it. Like not like open heart surgery. So they just went up, and I remember looking over at the screens, and I could see my body on like because they had like all of these like different places they were trying to map out. And I remember seeing my body like, what is that? Oh, that's my chest. What is that? And they like massaged me and gave me more or medicine, whatever, and I passed out. But that happened twice because it was supposed to be 2 hours and then it ended up being 6 hours. Wow. But everything went great. Everything was fine. So I had to take more time off of that and wait. You know, I had to like, you can't get surgery like you can, but like it's safer if you like spread them out and to make sure my heart was good. You know, like I wasn't going to have any more problems with it. So then I got my next surgery in June or July
For
my foot. So I had one heart surgery, and it's like not really a surgery. It's not like, having to cut you. They had like a small little slit in my groin, and then they went up to get my heart and fix it, and everything went well. I haven't had, my follow-ups are all good.
how often do you have to go to follow up?
Not anymore. I don't go. I mean, I kind of keep track of my heart rate anyway, and like
Oh.
now my heart rate doesn't get above, like my heart rate stays pretty low now. Just resting. My resting heart rate used to be like 65, 70
In college. Holy.
So really high relative to like what an elite athlete should be. Because I remember Frank Pirelli, he was like in the 30s. I'm like, this dude's in crazy good shape. Like, that's awesome. But mine's like just I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's just who I am. But now it's lower than it was. It's like in high 40s, low 50s, depending on what phase of training I'm in. But anyway, so now my max heart rate doesn't get that high anymore. At least I don't think it does. And I've been tracking more and more. I don't know how we got on that topic of like surgery and all of that stuff. Oh, because I was talking about the crazy stuff that I did in college, and like it was those times I'm like, dude, I need to get serious. Like, one, I'm losing. Two, I'm getting injured. Like, this isn't good.
This is when you're losing burrows.
Yeah. So I lost in 2012. I didn't lose. I lost to Polson, maybe. Yeah, Polson. And then I think lost to Marable that year too. So I was at 140. I was at 157 that year, and I tried. So in 2011, I'm getting 2011 and 2012 mixed up.
What was your last year?
13
in college.
So 13.
Okay.
So in 2011, I was 149, and I'm like, I'm going up to 57. I'm going up to 57. I can't make 149 anymore. I'm done. Like, I'm not doing this. And I was good. I was just cutting a lot of weight. Like, I would have been in the mix at 66 kilos night before weigh-in if I would have just after that year in 2012, if I was just like, all right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go down and I'm gonna try to make the team at 66 kilos, because it was a lot different weigh-in protocol than now. Probably could have made it. It would have been really painful, but I was like so over cutting weight for my first 2 years. I'm not doing this. But then so in 2013 was the first time I wrestled Burroughs. And that year they changed the rules so that there was overtime. So
freestyle?
Yeah. So they were testing a new rule set. They were testing a new rule set in 2013. It was a 6-minute match, and they wanted to see if overtime, it was unlimited overtime. So I forget who I wrestled first. And then I wrestled David and had a heater with David. And then
was this in Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Oklahoma. I was there. Yeah.
And then I had Andrew Howe, and if you, I don't know if you've ever wrestled him, but he is an absolute bear to wrestle. Like, really, like, hand fight super hard, super strong, heavy hips, like never gets out of position really. And I remember having to wrestle him, and I wrestled him like basically an extra 6 minutes. So it was like 12-minute match essentially. And then I got done, and then had to wrestle like 2 hours later against Burroughs. And he was sitting out. He weighed in the night before and sitting out the whole time. So it's better now, like having an extra day, like wrestling the full tournament and trials and day. It's just like, that was just a lot, And it's funny that I remember this because it was on the Dake doc. So like that was a piece of the trailer was us wrestling, like, because Jordan and I wrestled a ton, and we've just been kind of at each other's throats for a long time. Mostly just competitors. I'm sure if we never wrestled, we'd be very similar in our ways of living in so many different ways. But it just happens that we both, Jordan Lean says it best. He goes, he was my coach at Cornell for my freshman year. He's like, just because we're the same size doesn't mean we can't be friends. And I was just like, that makes sense. Like, just because, Jordan and I are the same size, wanted the same thing for so long, kept each other off of teams. He kept me off more teams than I kept him off, but it was just crazy. Crazy. So, but anyway, so I was just during that time really trying to figure it out. I was sick of losing. Oh, I hate losing. It's no fun. And I think I put a lot of pressure on myself. I think that's why, coming here was a really cool thing for me. It's just like the way Penn State philosophy is a lot different than other schools, than what I was used to. And from the outside looking in, it doesn't look that much different, but it's just different.
Yeah.
And Coach Kale is just Coach Kale, Coach Cody, Coach Casey. They're all they're just a little bit different,
Yeah.
In the best way. I mean, that's why you decided to come here and be a part of it and everything like that. So, but then I was like, all right, well, what do I have to do? Kind of like your Christmas moment. Like, all right, well, I need to start watching what I eat and do that. I had that same calling in 2015. Like, man, I need to figure this out.
Yeah.
So since 2015, I've really dove into like being the best version of myself.
2015.
Yeah, like it's been 10 years. It's been a decade now. Holy moly, it's a long time. And just like, it started off with simple things. We ice bathed after hard workouts, understanding what is actually happening with an ice bath. It's like, oh yeah, it pulls out some inflammation and you kind of feel a little good afterwards.
Isn't it better to do heat after workout?
Well, yes. Like, so it just depends on what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Like if you're trying to stop muscle breakdown, then hop in right now. But if you're trying to promote muscle growth, and like, let's say you just lifted and you got a good pump going, or you just wrestled, but you didn't go like maximum effort. Like you want to keep some of those things going. It just depends on what you want. Hop in the sauna. And then, some people suggest getting in the ice tub 45 minutes before your workout, and then using ice tub to boost testosterone. And like, there's just different things that you can do. And the timing is crucial. Everyone always misses like the timing point. Like when you do something matters.
Yeah.
Just as much as doing the something.
Yeah.
But so we knew ice bath, we knew about heat, like sauna, we knew about sweating, detoxing, like, oh yeah, just sweat it out. But there's more depth to that, and like how you use it changes. And then, just like kept going down the rabbit hole of like, what is the grounding thing? What is that? Is all grounding the same? What does it do to me? Like, how do I test it on myself while also learning? And then, what does the sun do to me? What is, am I wearing blue blockers at night? Because what does artificial light do? Like, what are these lights doing to us right now? And it's like, are they really dehydrating our cells? Or, is that not quite how it works? It's like, well, it definitely does something. Because you can get a glucose spike just by looking at blue light, which is crazy. I think I was telling you guys, I came in and talked before practice one time about like, just like a pin-sized green light on the back of your knee and how it can disrupt your sleep. So it's like, wow, like all these little things add up, and we're at a level now where the little things matter.
Yeah.
And we can't just get by. Like I can't, like if I was working, any other business and wasn't trying to like keep myself in peak physical condition, like some of that stuff, if I'm not worried about my performance, like, yeah, maybe I'll let this slide or this slide or this slide. But you can only do it for so long.
Yeah.
Like I know for me, like, and I look at my wife as an example, like she's trying to be, the best mom she can be. But she'll let things like slide because it's like, there's no like test, for her. Like I know that I'm going to be wrestling and I got to be ready at this moment right now. Like there's a goal right there. And for her, it's like every day she's just trying to be her best. But it's just different from a psychological standpoint on how that works. And just like people in general don't have our viewpoint of like what you're trying to be. Like people say like, oh, I'm trying to be the best I can every day. So, all right, well, what's your goal? Like, oh, I'm just trying to get, gain 10 pounds of muscle and do this and that. It's like, okay, well, what are you doing to get there? It's like, oh, well, sometimes I'll stay up late. Sometimes I'll do this and sometimes I'll do that, which I think is healthy. I think it's good that you mix some of that in. I don't think you need to be like so neurotic about like your lifestyle to where it doesn't, like you're literally hindering your life. Yeah. Because then you start like, is there a benefit psychologically? Probably. There probably is, but is there some hindrance as well?
Well, that's what I was just gonna say. Like, I feel like two things. Coming here, like right in my senior year, I started doing like 2 days, and I wouldn't give myself a recovery day. So Monday, Sunday, Saturday, whatever. Sunday through Saturday, Monday through Sunday, same thing.
Yeah.
It was 2 days.
Wow.
And I started getting like severe, like, kind of like an OCD kind of thing where I was like, if I'm not hitting, if I'll do one, and if I don't hit that second one, I'll be like,
wasted day.
Man, like
Yeah.
I'm doing bad, but my dad really started to help me with that. He's like,
Yeah.
dude, like you can cross train, you can like just chill out. And I remember my body, like
Yeah.
in June, May, June, right before I got here, my knees and just my body was like, oh man, like
Yeah.
I can feel it.
And you were like what, 19?
Yeah,
18,
I was
19?
I was just about to turn 20,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and I'm young. But we talked about that winter when I went, and you were like, well, Ben doesn't think recovery days are good.
Yeah.
And so I also had him in my ear. You're young, just keep on going.
Yeah.
And so that was like, all right, you know, I
I feel like
can
Ben
do
and
this.
I just need to hash it out.
Yeah. Well, and I think he's starting to move towards the recovery days, especially with, you know, like me coming home and I'll be like, I can't, I got my recovery day on this day.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is coming here and, you know, like seeing Snyder and you guys are, well, Snyder's still not even 30, but like you being able to say, I want to do another cycle or whatever, it's not out of the question because, and especially after NCAAs, other people are like, oh, you got some time now? And it's like, well, we implement time every week, all year round, so I can come in when I want, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Friday, whatever, and do what I need to do to be the best. But and I don't have to go, no, I need my month. I need my 2 months. And that's what I was the next thing I was gonna say is kind of that Christmas time. Do you think that almost an ignorance is a bliss kind of thing? Probably. Because I remember talking to you last week in the square one guy. We were talking about it's not bad to have a ice cream here and there and stuff like that. But I like with me, I almost go so over because I've never partied. I'm never going out till wee hours of the morning. I'm never doing those things. So I felt like, okay, like, you know, having some cookies here and doing some treats here, like that was kind of my like vice almost. And now I'm getting to the point where it's like, man, like that ignorance is bliss kind of thing. It's not, I'm not ignorant to it anymore. Like it's the forefront of my mind. Every time I eat it, it's like, shoot,
this is going to kill me.
Yeah.
I can't have seed oils.
Or how frequent I'm doing it too. Cause it is like, for me to say like, oh, I just do it once every week. It's like, that's not the case. It's every night or to some extent, you know?
Yeah. It's funny how like we just like our body, like for some reason we are looking for an escape. Like we have this desire to escape our current reality.
The release kind of thing.
Yeah. Like how do we take that pressure off just for a second, you know, to release that valve, and then we'll go back to doing it because what we're doing is hard, you know, especially in college, like, you know, you got so many other things that you're focused on, you know, with school and with relationships and with wrestling and then future goals. And then, you know, what does that look like in the future? There's always people, you know, how do you deal with media, sponsorships, you know, all of this stuff.
And that's becoming even more earlier.
Yeah. So, and I remember, I never had it. I just dealt with school and wrestling. I didn't, and like my wife and I were together and she was an athlete too. And like, I wasn't worried about anything. Like I wasn't worried about, you know, going out and trying to find a wife or anything like that. I was just worried about wrestling because I knew Megan was going to be there and I was going to be there for her. And, you know, anytime she was in season, I would be I'd be going, bringing her dinner. I'd be doing that. And then when it's my turn, she would be doing the same thing for me. Wow. Yeah. So it's kind of cool. Like just, we've been together since high school to do all of those things, just doing it together. But there's so many, where you're getting pulled in so many directions, And that's where that priority filter comes in. Like, well, is this going to help me? You know, is this going to help me be the best I can be? And what's really going to move the needle for me? You know, like is going and making, you know, tons of money doing camps every single day in the summer really worth it if I'm going to fall behind in my training and being the best I could be, you know, come March, you know? So like, those are things you just have to consider doing. Like, you want to like, it would be sweet to go to the Mediterranean and be on a yacht for a month. Like that would be awesome. Yeah. But like, is that really going to help me? Because we're Father Time will catch up. Maybe not until I'm 55 years old, but it will catch up. And what am I doing to make sure that it stays slow? You know, what are you doing? Because it's like you want to accelerate times in some way, but you want to slow down time in other ways. Like it's funny how that happens. Like you kind of just like oscillate between the two. Like, okay, we need to speed it up. We need to slow it down. It's like, God, will the NCAA tournament just get here already?
Yeah.
You know, and then all of a sudden it's here, gone. And now it's like, you came up after practice, like maybe a couple of days after you won an NCAA title, and you were just like, nothing's changed.
Yeah.
You know, like I have the same dorm, I have the same breakfast, I have like same everything.
Yeah.
And I remember having that experience, and it was always like, okay, on to the next.
Yeah.
You know, it's like part of it is like, it's kind of sick in some ways. You don't like get to stop and smell the roses in some ways, you know? And I've made sure I've done that, you know, like really tried to slow it down because, especially with my kids and my dad, like life is fragile. So just like enjoy it. Yeah. You know, enjoy the practices, enjoy getting, you know, hit in the face with a dodgeball, enjoy, you know, little things that you know, this isn't going to be here forever. And, but anyway, so yeah, I just think that for you, like figuring out like, well, what is my priority? What do I want to be? How do I want to see myself? Like, what are these different things? I forget why we were talking about that, but,
well, that's the cool thing. Like being in, my favorite is when you guys bring in your kids or the wives come around and then the normal life, like the things that we're kind of all living for. As Coach Kill gets up there and says, you know, like you guys think this is what's important, but in a few years, like, and I think about that a lot when I'm thinking like, oh, this is a big thing. I liked last year when he pointed up at the national champ wall and he's like, all these people with a few exceptions down on this end are living off of the NCAA title that they won or titles. And it's like what we think is important now, we're going to have mouths to feed soon. And that's even more so. And so I think that's the coolest thing. Like, you know, that's for me, like those are ultimate goals for me, like having the family and having a wife and doing those cool things. Because I think the coolest thing is I like philosophy. And so looking at, you know, ancient philosophers and stuff like that and the you know, the good, the truth, things like that, those things haven't really left, they've transcended history, you know, like having a family, what fulfills life and stuff like that. And so that's interesting, those little things along the way.
So you were saying that, you know, obviously food is becoming more of a thing and, you know, not wanting to be neurotic about it. And also like we were talking about EMFs a little bit because you're thinking about buying maybe an electric vehicle or a hybrid or something. You know, because those do play, you know, play some roles and that sort of thing. But like I think that there's so many avenues that you can go down. I think that if you focus on what Coach Kale says is like put the first things first. Like whether it be like family, you know, putting your faith first and like doing all that. I think that messaging is like that's what you're talking about, kind of transcends, you know, like there's always going to be a new gadget and a new gizmo and like something new that's going to like enhance this or do that. And that's kind of what we do at Vitality a little bit is like we take the old, you know, like there's been sweat lodges forever. People jump in a cold river and, you know, they'll do that all the time and they'll do compression therapy, like to stop swelling. Like that's old ancient wisdom that we're just applying, you know, newer now. And then exercise with cycling. And then we have some newer stuff with the hyperbaric and with the cocoon and with the, I mean, Bouncer Pro is kind of like lymphatic drain, but compression. But we like take the old stuff that has been proven forever, transcends time, and put it into like a modern context. I think it's cool.
I think the cool thing Coach Kale says, I think the inevitability of life, like there's just always going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things next up that you could improve on. And Coach Kale says, when we think that we're close to being perfect, when we think we're perfect, we're always 4 to 5 things are like sins away, vices away from being perfect again. And so when you think about that, that just means that it's limitless, right? Because then you get to the 4 or 5 things that you perfected and then there's more.
Always more.
But I think that's, correct me if I'm wrong on this. I've been, last year I read The Multi-Orgasmic Male. And I don't know if you've ever heard of that one. That one's interesting.
Is that Christopher's? Did he recommend that to you?
He recommended that. But the intro to that is a lot about like Tao culture and the Taoists and stuff like that. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's really cool. Like, when you talk about things, you know, little things that you don't like about the health industry now or big pharma now, we've went so far away from like Eastern philosophy, Eastern medicine, And let's go so far where a pill can fix anything.
Mm-hmm.
Where now we're seeing like antidepressants actually make the individual more depressed
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
it's funny. Like it's maybe not funny. It's ironic,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's ironic that those things happen. Do you think or agree that I think we're seeing like a Paul Saladino,
Mm-hmm.
what you guys do here, what we're able to do here, like we're pulling back in Eastern and then adding it to little gaps in the Western.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What do you?
Yeah, I think that there's always a benefit somewhere. By some practice, there's probably a benefit to it in some capacity. I like yoga, for example. Like yoga for a sprinter maybe helps in one area, but it could hurt them in another area. Or cycling, like cycling is going to help you with your cardiovascular health, but what does it do to your lumbar? Like if you're
bending over,
so, and then running, like that's like a standard human movement, but if you don't have good running mechanics, like it could cause another problem.
Yeah.
So like finding these little pieces of each of the philosophies, whether it be Ayurvedic medicine, Western medicine, whatever, there's always something that you can pull from it. And I guess you're kind of looking for, like, you're just looking for harmony inside your body. Like, how can we find harmony inside of our body? Because everyone always talks about balance. Like, hey, you want balance. But when you're running, you're kind of always out of balance. Like when you're walking, you're always like kind of falling, but you're catching yourself
yeah.
and making adjustments back and forth.
Yeah.
So when people say you should be perfectly balanced, I think of just like walking a tightrope and like not being able to make a mistake. And I know that's like Coach Kill talks about that all the time. Like, you need to go make mistakes when you wrestle.
Yeah.
And I think that's true for everybody. Like, you don't try to be perfect. Like, just go and do your best. And, you sway to the left. Okay, go back to the right. And keep trying to find that harmony so that you can kind of find your flow as you get through it. So I think a lot of what, someone like Paul Saladino or somebody like people in the health space now is, how can we find that harmony of what a human being is?
Yeah.
And what is that? What does a human being do first and foremost? Like, what do we do with our physiology? What do we do with our emotions? What do we do with our, spirituality? What do we do with our mentality? Like all of those things.
Yeah.
How do we find harmony among all of it? And some people think it starts from the top down. Some people think it starts from the bottom up. And there's something to be taken from each one.
Yeah.
So it's not necessary. And my goal is to not be rigid in anything. Test it all out, apply it, say, hey, this doesn't really work for me. I'm getting rid of that piece. I'm going to take this. And like, you keep doing that. And then you get to a point where you think like, oh, well, I've looked at everything. Like I've looked at all of these philosophies, all of these nutritional things, all of this stuff. Let me go recheck.
Yeah.
And you retest it and you're like, oh, actually I missed this.
Yeah.
Now this makes more sense.
Yeah.
But this stuff that I'm doing now, okay, now that's getting thrown out. It's kind of like that, what you're saying, you're always 4 steps behind.
Yeah.
And there's always room to improve. But I think there is like a standard of like what a human is like, was designed for, was built for. And, we clearly have, our bones are a certain shape so that we move a certain way.
Yeah.
We have our head up here for a reason. We have eyes here instead of over here for a reason.
Yeah.
And so there is a reason behind it all, and like trying to get into harmony with the way we were created, I think is really something that's benefit.
I was literally just reading about that before we came in here. Socrates and Plato being advocates on appearances change, but the makeup and the form of things don't. The idea, right? Like the idea of the river being the different river and the man being a different man every time they step into it, but the makeup of what the river is and the man itself doesn't change. One thing I want to say that's interesting is what we keep talking about, like the little changes and the guess and checks, and what the biggest thing for that's been hard for me a year ago, right before Olympic team trials, I went and saw Nadesh, and this is when my skin was like
You're like breaking out in hives.
So bad.
Yeah.
It was so bad all over.
Mhm.
And I hadn't been there was no allergens. I don't know if you can tell how much different me itching and stuff like that in practices. And like just emotional maturity and everything like that. I went to Nadesh, and since that little gap in between NCAAs and the Olympic trials was like a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And I had been we talked about stressors.
Yeah.
And I had taken off some stress from like wrestling, but I had added tons. I moved out of the house that I was in a week, and I had moved into a different place. I was trying to balance all this new, like, people asking me for camps, people saying you should do clothes, all this stuff. And it was like, oh, this is really cool. This is really exciting. And it's tough during that time to be like, I don't think people, I don't think people understand the like, be grateful because people would die to have that opportunity. It's very tough because it's like, yes, it is an awesome, all those things were great opportunities. The fact that I could wrestle in the Olympic trials was an awesome opportunity. But it was like, hold on, like unconsciously, what is it doing to yourself? Unconsciously, I was like, I'm feeling good. I'm happy. And then all of a sudden it was like, bang, like something switched. And then I looked down and I look at my body, and Pav was like, dude, what's going on? And Nadesh is like, oh, what's going on? And it was, I haven't told anybody about this actually, which is funny. I cried to Nadesh, and for a second I was like, should I even do the Olympic trials? Like, what's it doing to my body right now? Under my armpits and my arms and my chest and my ribs and my legs were just like, it wasn't even hives. It was just rash, like red. And it's funny, like how crazy different just making sure now, a year later, how conscious I am about the little things. And I had to talk to Coach Nick last night after I kind of got my butt kicked. And I'm like, shoot, man, like I'm trying so hard. I feel, there's that. I didn't really smell the flowers. I went back. I had to do homework in school, make that up, and then back into the restroom. And it's like how, I'm trying to maybe take care of some of my friends and get them to places. And then I want to, maybe take care of my girlfriend a little bit and stuff like that. And it's like, Coach Nick was like, make sure you got time for yourself too. There does need to be that time, because it is, even though I am getting better at that, I need to still consciously look at the unconscious and make sure that I'm not, the thing with the car. It's like it doesn't seem like it's a stressor or putting pressure on your body or your brain or whatever, taxing your nervous system, but it is. There are little things. And so I think that is interesting, of being able to like again, what are we here? We're vitality. And it's like a time and a place to kind of stop, and that me time to be able to get into the sauna or to be able to get into the cocoon or the hyperbaric or the classes that you guys are doing, whatever, or the red light, and really setting aside the time to, like, it's funny when you said the Burrow's like, I'm getting younger every day. It's like, you don't understand it. No one understands that until like you come around and you get to see all the stuff in vitality and the way that people live.
The body definitely keeps score of everything. And it doesn't forget. Like, it's going to remember every situation that you've ever been in. And when that's what I find interesting too, is, you don't remember your childhood, but if there's like a perfume that you smell, and it's like, boom, you're right back in that living room when you were 3 years old, like, and your aunt is right there, and you're like, oh, my aunt kind of smells, Like, what is that? My grandma got it. It's like, what is that smell? Like, I don't like that very much. Or like, for me, it's dill. Like, if I smell dill, I immediately transport back into Russia, because we had dill every single meal. Like, it was like in everything, on your eggs. It was in your borscht. They had dill everywhere. So I just remember, like, just sliding back, and like just something simple like that, because your body just remembers it all. And your body's going to remember the stress, and it's going to be like, hey, slow down, knock knock, slow down. Hey, you're trying a lot right now, slow down. And there's so many, like, I have so many people to be thankful for. Nadej has been great. Nowdy with functional patterns, he's been great. I've had a lot of really, really good teachers along the way. From wrestling, yeah, health and wellness, yeah. Like there's people that I follow online that are just like, man, this guy's got some really good stuff.
Yeah.
And like I just have a lot to be thankful for with that, and like kind of stopping, giving them their roses and be like, hey, like thank you for doing this for me. And then also just be like, hey, how can I help? Like what can I do? You've helped me so much. And like what can I do to like push people that way? And a lot of it is just the way I live my life. Like this is what I do. Like and that's what's cool. Well, my documentary is coming out. We're actually doing a fundraiser for that. So 12-year documentary, which is kind of crazy that Greg has said is his name. He's been doing it that long. And just like, this is my way of saying thank you to all those people who have helped me during that time. Yeah. Like, hey, you were a huge part of this, and we're going to make sure that, you are a part of it, and we can continue to pass that out. But our bodies are incredible, and I feel like we don't understand them nearly as well as we could. And that's kind of what the goal is here. Like with Vitality Wellness Club, how can we get you to feel better than you've ever felt? Like everyone has this standard. Let's say you have a cup and you're only ever able to get it halfway full, but that's your 100%. You're like, I feel 100% today. I'm feeling great. And then all of a sudden we're just like, we take some of the stressors off, and then your cup is actually all the way filled up. And you're like, whoa, I didn't know I could feel this good. That's what we're going for. Like, hey, we want you to know that you can feel better, and you can feel better than you are right now. And some of and everyone's a little bit different. And that's why we have something for everybody. Here is we have, not everybody needs to be in the red light every single day. But if you're dealing with like brain fog and you're worried about your skin and you're worried about this type of thing, well, maybe red light is a good path for you. Or if like you're like, man, I'm dealing with a ton of stress, mental stress, like I can't do it. I want to put you in the cocoon tub. And I'm gonna reoxygenate your brain, and all of a sudden your brain fog is just see you later. But sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes, and most of the time, what I found for me and for the clients that we had, it's like this really made a difference. So I think that's really cool with what we have here, is because we're trying to help everyone, whether it be a stay-at-home mom, a plumber, an athlete, a professor. Like, how can we help you be better than you were the day before? And we want to do it together. That's been our big thing, is wellness together. Like, how can we bring people together and have a common goal of it doesn't have to be anything other than optimize your wellness. So those are two: wellness together, optimize your wellness. We want everyone to come together. And what does that mean to you is going to mean something different to me. Is going to mean something different to Will. Is going to mean something different to, a 70-year-old guy. Everyone's a little bit different, but, and we want people to come down and feel comfortable and be like, man, this is making a huge difference. Like, I'm so glad I decided to invest in myself. Rather than like, oh man, I could go mask this. I'm going to go out on the weekend and I'm going to mask this up, or I'm going to vape and I'm going to mask this up. I'm going to go do these other things and try to, put a cover on. But really, it's like we need to peel back some of those layers first. And we can do that here. And I think that's really cool.
Well, and like two things with that. One, it's at the epicenter of like having a community. So when all the students leave, you still have, like you're saying, those tradesmen and the people that are working here to make State College or Bellefonte or Pleasant Gap work, and you still have families and all that great community of State College or Center County. And then all the kids come back, and then you have all the professors, and you have all these people. I mean, it's literally, me and my girlfriend were just talking about, we are so lucky to be at a top 50 university in the world, in the whole world. Like, just take athletics out of it, which is also now with Pat Kraft, and we look at our athletic department, and it's pretty close to, it's
one of the best in the country for sure.
It has to be, with all the success of each individual. You got football, volleyball, wrestling. It's just like, it doesn't stop.
Hockey,
exactly.
Made the Frozen Four.
Exactly, all that, and then you, let's just take that out, and then you have the one of the best academic institutions in the world, top 50 or whatever. I think it was like, we're 47 or something, and it's like right there, just the people of furthering technology, and then also brains and thing like that, and just being able to come together in a community, which is cool too.
Like the sauna on a Saturday morning, you never know what you're gonna get. Like, there was one Saturday I came in, I'm like, man, I'm just gonna hop in the sauna, and I invited one of the former football players at Penn State. I was like, hey, why don't you come in sauna? There's no one's gonna be here. Like, there's no one signed up. We'll come in at 9, no problem, and we'll just hang out. And we got here at 9. I didn't say anything. I just showed up, and then there were 8 other people in the sauna.
Wow.
They just like had come. They were just like, oh, I'm coming down. And there was, a professor. There was 2 people that were students. There was 2 other locals, and then it was me and the quarterback. I don't think he'll mind if I say it, but Trace McSorley. He was a quarterback for Penn State a while ago and just got a coaching gig. But we were here, and then all of a sudden there was just like a ton of people here.
Yeah.
And now you're just like chopping it up with people that you would never otherwise cross paths with. Yeah. And we had one of the guys who has been helping me on the back end of things. His name's Sachin. He's like, yeah, I was in the sauna the other day and, met a couple of the soccer athletes and now I'm going to start working with soccer. He's been working with the volleyball, doing like data analytics. And he after he worked with volleyball, he started working with the men's side, and then he started working with soccer, and now he's down with us. He's just like building connections and building that community is really cool. So there's a lot of cool things happening here. I'm really excited about what we have. Before we kind of wrap it up, coming down here, what has been your favorite modality that you've used? And sometimes, and this is the caveat for me, like, it's like, well, it depends. It depends on where I'm at in my training. It depends on where I'm at with, like, if middle of winter, I was like, man, I need to be in that red light right now. I'm going to put that red light on me. I'm going to put the UV light on me, and I'm going to get grounded, and I'm going to be here for 15 minutes. And I'm going to be getting out and feeling great. So I will allow for a little bit of a caveat. You don't have to pick one.
Yeah. Well, I think, like you're saying, the caveat is that it's what you need at that moment. And I think that's what's so cool is that there's versatility to the wellness and to the recovery. I think the coolest story though was I was sick Big Ten's week. I got sick. Everybody was kind of sick. I think you might have been sick around that time. And going into that week, it hit on like Monday. And I was like, dude. And at that point, it's like, I feel like being, we're trying to be elite athletes. Or we are. And it's like, okay, what have I not done? What are the bases? Well, I was getting my sleep. I was trying to eat better. I was trying to do these things that were not going to get me sick. It was funny. I purposely was not going out to wrestling tournaments and all these places where I could get sick. And I ended up getting sick. I'm like, crap. And so I went and did the lymphatic drainage system. And like, I feeling my lymph nodes and all that, and they were big. And then afterwards, like, I was like, holy cow.
The Balancer Pro,
And then I feel my neck, and I'm just like, holy crap. Like, I feel like what it's supposed to do. And that's I think the biggest thing nowadays. We, just talked about however long we just talked about all these little things and making a difference. That's the coolest thing is when you actually feel the difference.
When you see it.
Exactly. And that's what was cool when I got here. I remember the first time I went into the hyperbaric, and I was like, I felt everything cracking and everything like that. Like you feel and you see the differences in your body. So just that one time of using that lymphatic drainage system on the week that I needed it, where it was imperative that I got the sickness out of me, it did it. And I thought that was cool. And then I think the biggest thing for me is consistency. Like I see PAV every week, right? I'm especially with recovery. Like we're all very anal on like every week. That's, we get the recovery days. We don't need to take months off. We can just keep going and keep going with the right amount of recovery in there. And so, and this allows that. And now maybe, we're entering that time where people can wrestle longer. And that's really cool. And those are the difference makers. These things like vitality. And so I think, it's good to have a place that I can consistently, that's that key word, that I can consistently come in. As much as I'm consistently doing my training, I can come in and hit the, red light and then hyperbaric, and then be able to use that every week. And then maybe like that one time it was like, okay, we'll try out the cocoon and see what, how that makes your body feel and stuff like that. And I just think that's cool to have the versatility, not only that, but have that consistency in an area where I can use those things. And then also just kind of the community. Like you're saying, like I personally feel the amount of just in our relationship, how much more depth has been added. I think it's less of like, that's, young Mitchell that came when you first wrestled me and I'm freaking out because you're grabbing my arm or whatever. And now it's like, you can't
tell that story.
literally, yeah. Like,
so Mitchell comes in, we're at camp, and he's like, hey, you want to wrestle? I'm like, yeah, let's go. So we're wrestling, and he keeps collar tying me, and I just like grab his back of his arm and grab his armpit. And you were just like, the first time you were kind of like, shaking off. Reminded me of DeSanto. You know how DeSanto just can grab on, like he just like digs his nails in. Similar thing. I just like kept pulling you in, like over elbow tie. And I don't think I ever get an elbow tie on you now because you just cleared out. But you were just like, stop grabbing my arm. And I was just laughing so hard. But yeah, like you said, you were just a young kid coming in and just trying to, be your best. And, it's been, you've consistently gotten better. I mean, I think you've shown that. And I think you've done a really good job just with everything that you've been doing.
Thanks.
You're asking the right questions, you're doing the right things, like you're on a trajectory to get to where you want to go. Like you know exactly where you want to be. And you're taking those steps there, which is really cool. And like you were saying with consistency, like it's not going to, you're not going to take one practice and be like, okay, I did my one practice. Now I'm going to be the best in the world. It's like, well, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
You can't come in and do one session in the sauna or one cycle class and be like, all right, well, I'm fixed.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, we need some consistency. Let's get you over a longer period of time and see what the benefits are.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's really cool. And I definitely appreciate you coming in. And
well, yeah, I appreciate you, and it's kind of good time to like thank you for not only just, we talked about family and all that stuff, like not only the man but the wrestler and the father and all these figures that you can be. It's a really cool time. I'm very grateful for the time that I was able to slide into Penn State and be able to kind of see all these things, and then this had just opened, and now have all these resources to be able be best, as you are a resource for all of us, and not only just a resource, but to be able to make a relationship. And I sent you that picture last night, and we, I was just a little guy and a fan, and then now it's like have a relationship and to be able to work together and all that stuff. I appreciate it.
I showed my wife that picture, and she was just like, you look really young, and who is that little boy right there? Like, that's Mitchell. She goes, what? No way. I was like, like that was my first Olympic team trials. That was 2012. That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Really cool. Well, thanks, Mitchell. Appreciate you.
Thank you.